OneFootball allows you to stay on top of latest transfer information and team news with personalised content. Gain access to football news, schedules and results in over 100 leagues to track your favourite clubs and track live play performance scores and stats in unrivaled detail during match days. Also gain a front row seat to matchday action and videos from your favourite teams, so access everything football by downloading the OneFootball app now for free on the App Store or Google Play. Hello fantasy managers, today we've got the first draft team selection coming into the brand new season of FPL. The FPL game has just launched, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the brand new price reveals as well as making the first draft team coming into the new season. So just before we get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to show support for the channel, and click the join button down below if you guys want to become a channel member, where you can access behind the scenes content as well as get a personalised shout out once you become a member. Also access super stickers and badges next to your name when we live stream. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So kicking it off with the brand new first draft team, in goals we have gone with Roberto Sanchez. Sanchez is coming in at £4.5 million and looks to be great value in goalkeeper for Brighton. He is already the second highest owned keeper in FPL with a 31.8% ownership, which is reasonable as he is such great value at his price tag. Last season, Sanchez recorded 101 FPL points in just 27 matches, as he did record 10 clean sheets over this period. He did average over 3 points per game last season, and this is very good value for his cheap price. I think no doubt coming into Gameweek 1, Sanchez will be one of the highest owned keepers in the game, as he is only behind Emi Martinez at this point. Moving on to the second goalkeeper, it is Vicente Guaita, who is another £4.5 million player. Out of all the £4.5 million options, Guaita did score the most points last season, as he recorded 124 FPL points. Despite this, Guaita only has a 7% ownership as he is the 7th highest owned keeper, but I think he could prove to be very good value early on in the season. Guaita recorded 8 clean sheets last season, and he'll be keen to improve on this form, as in his first 4 matches he faces Chelsea, Brentford, West Ham and Tottenham. We could go for the likes of Ben Foster as a £4 million second goalkeeper, but I think it is very valuable to have 2 goalkeepers that will play and is still fairly cheap, as it does maximise the chances of a clean sheet. So now moving on to the defenders, starting off with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He faces Norwich away, which is a very promising game for the first match of the season, as hopefully Liverpool can get a clean sheet and potentially an attacking return for Trent. He is coming in at £7.5 million, which does make him the most expensive defender this season in FPL. This is reasonable, as he was the 3rd highest scoring defender last year, behind Stuart Dallas and his teammate Andy Robertson. His 160 FPL points were very impressive, as he got himself 2 goals, 8 assists and 10 clean sheets. He currently has a 29.1% ownership, which does make him the 3rd highest owned defender in the game, but I think he is such an essential option to have in your FPL team, especially with the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez returning to the side. Moving on to Luca Dean, he looks to be a very good value option at the back, as he has seen a price drop this year, as he is priced at £5.5 million. This was previously £6 million, and this £500,000 price drop does make him all the more enticing, especially with Everton's good upcoming fixtures. They have the lowest FDI rating out of their first 5 matches, as they face Southampton, Leeds, Brighton, Burnley and Villa over this period. Dean did amass 120 FPL points last season, as he had a very impressive 9 assists, which was accompanied by 9 clean sheets. Whilst Everton's defence didn't keep as many clean sheets as they would have liked last season, these starting fixtures do hold some promise from a defensive standpoint. Also with Dean on corners and making those attacking runs into the box, hopefully he can get a couple of assists early on in the season. Dean is the 2nd highest owned defender in the game with a 29.6% ownership, only behind Luke Shaw. I think at £5.5 million, Dean is one of the best value defenders in the game. Moving on to Wesley Fofana, he seems to be great value at the back at £4.5 million, as he will be starting for Leicester. He did record at 71 points last season, and in just over 2,000 minutes played, he recorded himself 1 assist and 7 clean sheets. It is no surprise that Fofana is the 4th highest owned defender with a 27% ownership, because he will be such good value in that Leicester defence. Leicester have a mixed bag of opening fixtures, as they face Wolves at home in the first game week, which is looking promising for a clean sheet, and then after that they face West Ham, Norwich and Man City. I just think that if you can get into the Leicester defence for a fairly cheap price, then it is such a good value pick, and Wesley Fofana is exactly that option at £4.5 million. And to cover for the defence, it is Vladimir Coufal. 𝙁𝙖𝙣𝙗𝙑 faces Newcastle away in the first game of the season, which does hold much promise from a defensive standpoint for West Ham. West Ham have some very good fixtures to start the season as they face Newcastle, Leicester, Palace and Southampton as their first four. 𝙁𝙗𝙑 is coming in at £5 million this year. This price has seen a £500,000 increase, which is reasonable as he did record 9 assists and 9 clean sheets last season for West Ham. 𝙁𝙗𝙑 was so impressive last year, and I think with West Ham's defensive solidarity, he does present himself as being a very good defensive asset. 𝙁𝙗𝙑 does have a 20% ownership, which does make him the 7th highest owned defender in the game, so I just think at £5 million he does prove to be great value at the back. And on the bench for our defenders, we have gone with Conor Coady. Coady is coming in at £4.5 million, which seems to be such a good price for him. He did record 106 points last season as he picked himself up a goal and 10 clean sheets for the Wolves. Also with a very low 7.3% ownership, he could be a very good value option to have in defence at the start of this season. Wolves have a tricky start to the year as they face Leicester, Tottenham and Manchester United as their first 3 matches, but then after that they face the likes of Watford, Brentford, Southampton and Newcastle, so these next 4 matches after their first 3 are holding much promise for clean sheets for the Wolves, so for that reason he is in the team. Now taking a look at the players in the middle of the park, starting off with Emi Buendia. Buendia is coming in at £6.5 million, which does seem to be fairly good value to have in that Aston Villa midfield. Buendia is coming in with a 14.6% ownership, which does make him the 10th highest owned midfielder in the game, but I think with Aston Villa's very promising opening fixtures, he could prove to be a very good asset. Speaking of, Aston Villa face Watford, Newcastle and Brentford as their first 3 matches of the season, which you could potentially see Aston Villa getting 3 wins in those 3 games, which would mean of course Buendia can hopefully get some attacking returns over this period. Buendia has been in the Premier League once before, as in the 2019-2020 season, he only played 2,000 minutes for 1 goal and 7 assists for Norwich, and I just think an Aston Villa side with a lot of creativity around him, he could be providing a fair few assists for his teammates. Moving on to the Egyptian King, Mo Salah is in the side once again as he is such a consistent performer and a very good FPL asset. Despite seeing a £500,000 price rise to £12.5 million, I still think he is such an essential option to have in the side. With 231 FPL points last season, he was one of the highest scoring players in last year's campaign. He currently has a 54.4% ownership, which does make him the highest owned player in the game, which is reasonable as he did record a very impressive 22 goals and 6 assists last year. Also, Liverpool have some very good fixtures to start the year, as they face Norwich, Burnley, Chelsea and Leeds as their first 4, so I just think with these great fixtures and Mo Salah's incredible consistency, he's always such a good FPL asset. And moving on to the third and final midfielder, it is Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes is coming in at £12 million and is 0.5 cheaper than Mo Salah, and he was the top scoring player in FPL last year with a very impressive 244 points. Fernandes is coming in with a 43.2% ownership, which does make him the 2nd highest owned midfielder in the game, which is justified with his very impressive 18 goals and 14 assists last year. And on the bench for midfielders, we have gone with Jack Harrison. Currently he is still playing for Man City, but you would expect Leeds to sign him, so I am imagining he will come back to Leeds, and at £6 million in the midfield, he could be such good value. He recorded 160 FPL points last season with 8 goals and 10 assists to his name. Also with a very low 3% ownership, he could be a very good differential punt compared to the likes of Rafinha, who is the 4th highest owned midfielder, and even though Jack Harrison did score more points than Rafinha, he is still coming in with a lower ownership and lower price. And to cap off the midfield is Yves Bissouma. He seems to be a great value option at £4.5 million, being the minimum price in the middle of the park. He always gets consistent minutes for Brighton, and he did record himself a goal last season, recording 77 FPL points, so I just think he is a good budget enabler in midfield. Now moving on to the 3 forwards up top, starting off with Richarlison. Richarlison is coming in at £7.5 million and is a bit of a differential option compared to the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is his Everton teammate. Calvert-Lewin is priced at £8 million with a 28% ownership, but Richarlison is only owned by 4.3% of managers, so I think he could be a good differential punt up top, especially considering Everton's promising starting fixtures. As I touched on before, Everton have the best fixtures to start the season, as they face Southampton, Leeds, Brighton, Burnley, Aston Villa and Norwich as their first 6 opponents, so you would expect the Everton attack to score a fair few goals over this period. With Richarlison recording 7 goals and 6 assists last year, he did put forward a fairly impressive performance, but I do think he can step up to bigger and better things last year and build on his 123 FPL points of last campaign. Moving on to Ivan Toney, he is a part of the newly promoted Brentford side and does look to be a very exciting FPL asset up top. Coming in at £6.5 million, he is one of the most expensive players to come out of the championship this season, which is justified as he was the top scorer in the championship last year. Despite being $500,000 more than Teemu Pukki, Brentford have some decent fixtures to start the year as they face Arsenal, Palace, Villa and Brighton as their first four. Toney is coming in with a 41% ownership, which does make him the highest owned forward in the game by a fair stretch, and I just think considering that he's £6.5 million, he could be a good very cheap asset up top for the Bees. And to cap off the team, it is Mikel Antonio who is coming in at £7.5 million. Antonio is owned by 13% of managers, which does make him the 8th highest owned forward in FPL. Despite only playing 1900 minutes last season, he did record 118 FPL points, getting himself 10 goals and 5 assists across this period. Antonio does have one of the highest points per minute in terms of forwards last season, so I just think if he can stay fit at £7.5 million, he should be good value up top. West Ham have some great fixtures to start the year as they face Newcastle in Gameweek 1, then Leicester, Crystal Palace and Southampton after that, so I think West Ham could be a good team to target early on in the season, which would mean having Antonio in the side. So that's what we've got for today for the first draft team selection of the new FPL season. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to show support for the channel. And once again, click the join button down below if you guys do want to become a channel member to access various channel perks, such as getting super stickers and badges in the chat and access behind the scenes content. Also, leave a comment what you guys think of this first draft, and drop your first draft teams down below in the comments as well, as I'll be sure to have a look at those. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.